A warm welcome to you, our viewers, to this edition of the News in English on Rwanda Television with me, Serishin Hore. We'll begin with the headlines. The Organization of African First Ladies for Development's We Are Equal campaign aimed at promoting gender equality on the continent has officially been launched in Kigali. All stakeholders in Rwanda's agricultural sector have been urged to share information appropriately so that the money the government invests in the sector can be effectively used to properly address any threat of food shortages. Now the details, thank you for taking the time to join us. On Sunday, the First Lady of Rwanda, Excellency Jeannette Kagame, participated in Car-Free Day activities that saw the launch of a campaign dedicated to closing the gender gap on this African continent. We have the details with Adams Kwizera.
On Sunday morning, First Lady Jeannette Kagame joined the residents of Kigali City, plus various namers and distinguished guests who participated in the gorilla naming ceremony in the mass sports activity known as Car-Free Day. During this Car-Free Day activity is where they launched the We Are Equal campaign, which is dedicated for the call on the urgent action to advance gender equity and to close gender gap in Africa. Various residents who participated in this launch event pointed out the consequences that may arise in families when this gender equity is not followed, which may also have an impact on the mental health as well. When people are living in bad conditions, this might lead to a divorce, and this divorce could affect one party, which can lead to the mental health illness. The launch of this campaign, which initiated by the Organization of African First Ladies for Development, OFLAD, and in partnership with the Rwanda Biomedical Center under the Pillar of Health, which will have its focus on mental health and non-communicable diseases, as Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Iva Butera, points out.
One of the things that we did today was to combine it with the Car-Free Day that we usually have, because exercise has benefits for physical health but also for mental health. So in that regard, we also had the opportunity to discuss issues that are still there in terms of gender inequality. We see gender inequality that tends to affect mostly women, and issues such as gender-based violence, sexual violence, that also have impacts on the mental health of people. So we encourage Rwandans, we encourage Africans, we encourage everyone to make sure that families are safe, that homes are safe, schools are safe, everyone's mental health is safe, encouraging exercise, because exercise plays a key role also in having a sane health and mental health. So today we launched the campaign, combine it with physical activities to raise the awareness and provide some services for screening and other things.
The campaign dubbed We Are Equal is expected to create a platform dedicated to advocate for gender equality in healthcare and raise awareness about the importance of NSDs, prevention and early detection. Adams Kwizera, RTV News.
Now, commenting on the just launched campaign, Her Excellency, the First Lady of Rwanda, posted the following on the platform now known as X, formerly Twitter, and I quote, "We are equal and together we can strive." The Organization of African First Ladies for Development's We Are Equal campaign that we launched today promotes wellness for all through gender equality with a focus on mental health, as it is the foundation for our well-being, end of quote. Now, all stakeholders in Rwanda's agricultural sector have been urged to share information appropriately so that the money the government invests in the sector can be effectively used to properly address any threat of food shortages in different areas. The call was made as a two-day workshop on agriculture development that was bringing together agricultural officials from the sector level all the way up to the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources was concluded. During the workshop, all hindrances to the sector's development were identified and discussed. Things like the use of manure together with industrial-grade fertilizers were noted to make a huge difference in productivity, which is why participants were called on to make sure that such supplies reach farmers on time. District officials were also warned against thinking that agricultural matters can be left to sector officials because they are ultimately accountable to everything that occurs in their respective districts. The officials were also instructed to ensure that their agricultural officers are given at least 4 days a week to visit farmers out in the fields, because the officers were complaining that they are constantly required to attend meetings, leaving them with little time to actually attend to the people they are supposed to be serving. More than 1,000 people participated in the workshop. Now to justice matters. Officials in Rwanda's justice sector have been commending the fact that during the last judicial year, the mediation prevented litigation at a rate of 320%, while plea bargaining also helped to reduce the workload on the country's court system. Mediation alone helped resolve cases worth 9.6 billion Rwandan francs, money judicial officers say would have been stuck in litigation for years had the cases gone to court. This comes as on Monday, the judicial year for 2023-2024 will officially begin. Well, to give you an idea of just how significant what I have just told you is, consider that a judge here in Rwanda presides over 23 cases per month. That is on average, which is why during the last judicial year, 87% of cases were ruled on, leading to areas that must be carried over to the next judicial year that will also no doubt have its own areas and so on. Now, RBA interviewed the judicial spokesperson of the country, and he explained how the problem is being tackled.
The annual report that we released is a report that comes annually when we are going to launch a new judicial year and we're concluding the old judicial year. We usually release a report. So the report that covers the judicial year 2022-2023 entails a lot, but in a nutshell, I will say there's a lot that has been done by the judiciary. First of all, I would say the core mandate of the judiciary is to dispense justice. So I would come up to the statistics that we have. We had cases that came into the court in the judicial year that we've concluded that are over 100,000 cases. In those, the judges and registrars managed to dispense of cases in a number of 98,130 something cases that were dispensed or disposed of during the judicial year. Now we're remaining as backlogs of 91,000 and some numbers of cases that have remained in our dockets. So that is a big amount of numbers, but shows that also definitely the judges did their best to try and deliver justice in that time. So it shows that we still have backlogs. It's an issue. Though the judges and registrars and the court officers in general have strained to do what they can to provide the services, but still we're still having backlogs in our dockets. Well, the reasons behind this is definitely the numbers of judicial officers and judges and registrars and other court staffs that we're having is slightly lesser than the number that we're supposed to be having, because since the judicial reform that occurred in 2004, apart from the primary court that had a few increment of judges amounting to 25, the rest, the numbers been same. They haven't increased in numbers. And as you've seen from the report, cases have multiplied. There are even new cases that have been introduced into the courts that have not even been there the years in 2004. That shows that definitely we are supposed to be having at least an increment of the court staff in that way. But nevertheless, I would say the judiciary has not sat and probably folded their arms and said we'll do what we can only. We've all thought, the judiciary has thought of mechanisms to try also and curb up that. Among them is court-annexed mediation. We have introduced court-annexed mediation since the year 2015, where it came into our courts, and it's been helping in a way. I would say this judicial year we've had 1,021 cases that have been settled in coronex mediation. That is cases in the civil, commercial, administrative, and labor matters. We have also had a good number of money that was saved during the mediation that amounts to 9 billion Rwandan francs and $100,000 that was settled around that. So that is a very good implication in that. We've also introduced plea bargaining. Since last year in October, that is when plea bargaining was kicked off, and it has picked off well because since it started around October, November, up to August this year, that is when we compiled the cases that we had when we were closing off the judicial year. We had around 1,880 cases that were settled in plea bargaining.
The spokesperson of Rwanda's judicial system, Harrison Mutabazi, speaking to RBA earlier. Now, officials in Bugesera district of the Eastern Province have announced a new digital system that will help address the problem of local residents having to go from office to office, among local officials seeking solutions to their problems, sometimes in vain, after years of doing so. Named Wisiragira, the digital initiative seeks to put an end to the issue, and officials in the Eastern Province have stressed that it must be put to proper use so that people stop wasting precious time constantly going to local offices, time that could be used for developmental efforts instead. Already showing promising results at lower levels, Wisiragira has now been officially introduced at the district level in Bugesera. Now, health matters, with research showing that 51% of adults globally not getting adequate sleep. Experts here in Rwanda have been warning people against not getting enough rest, pointing out that depriving the body of this essential aspect of life can sometimes be fatal. It has been noted that this is especially true of individuals that are expected to exert a lot of effort during their waking hours, be it physical or mental. Research has also found that ignorance is largely to blame for people not giving sleep its due importance. Other reasons for people not getting enough rest have been identified as bad habits, like the excessive consumption of things like alcohol, coffee, and tea, smoking, not having a fixed time to go to bed in the evening, going to bed on a full stomach, the light of TV and computer screens late at night, and drug addiction. Experts say babies below the age of 6 months should spend between 13 and 17 hours asleep every day, and that as a person gets older, that time they spend asleep does reduce, but it should never fall below 8 hours a day. While people are encouraged to find ways to rest and reduce stress without necessarily having to go to bed, it has also been emphasized that rest during waking hours cannot substitute the body's need for sleep. I thank you all for taking the time to join us for this edition. I hope you have a fruitful week ahead of you. Goodbye.